Hello, 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 welcome in everyone. How are we doing today? Sorry for the late start. I was doing 40 squats because yesterday it didn't appear, since it was like a custom thing I added, it didn't appear on my chat thing, so that's why I didn't do the squats. 20 more squats? Okay, Sheeta. I see how it is. I'll do them after I do a little recap of what happened previously on stream. So, what went on last time? We go back to 1928, where a man called John Carpenter goes to a ball in America with Frankenstein. They look for a British man called Jeremiah Hazlitt to kill him before he goes back to England. He's a big criminal in England, you see. And then John goes around dancing with people, but it all seems strange. He thinks it's his imagination at first, but they all have red eyes. And slowly, in an ominous way, he realizes they're all vampires. He panics and then drops his wooden stake, looks up, and Valentin Rusmanov, the youngest of the three brothers, is right in front of him. And he is one of the most powerful vampires in the world. So yeah, he's a bit doomed. So hi, Victor, how are you doing? I'm training you, so when the day comes, start rolling your news at treadmills, everyone. Yeah, I got this. All right, thank you for the consume water, Violet. I appreciate it. We'll do 20 squats and then we'll begin our reading, shall we? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. 60 squats done today. Let's go. Do you masturbate your pussy? Only every fortnight. Terrified? It's because I have all my strength in my lower body. Holy sh... thank you for the raid, Holly Flip Flop. Hello, welcome in everyone. My name is Solace, and I am a reading streamer, and we were just about to start reading Department 19. It is a book by Will Hill. How was stream? Thank you so much for raiding. I really appreciate it, cutie. But yes, Department 19. Welcome in, darlings. We started stream by doing 20, I did 40 squats and then I did 20 squats. And yes, that's what happened. But hi, welcome in everyone. Feel free to raid and run if needed. I hope it went well. And Fig, a lot of strength is there. But yes, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it and I hope you all enjoy. Also, I just finished doing the recap of what happened previously. If you would like to read it again, the link in my profile to my Discord server where I write recaps of what happened previously in the book. So yes. Oh, thank you again, Kudo. Mwah. Appreciate it. But yes, shall we begin now? Thank you again. I really appreciate it. Mwah. But let's go. Everyone in the room was staring silently at him. The final chime rang out, echoing in the quiet air, and from the back of the room, a voice shouted, "Unmask." There was a second of hesitation. Then Valentin nodded, and there was a frenzy of movement as the guests removed their masks, a red glow filling the room as they did so. Carpenter looked around them helplessly as the hundreds of men and women turned back to face him. Also, holy shit, I forgot to do the shout out. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. There we go. I'm so sorry. Sorry, darling. There we go. Oh, I should have done it immediately. Also, I absolutely love your design. It's so cute. The dress. Oh, I love it. I'm sorry. They regarded him with smiles on their faces, their fangs now fully extended, their eyes gleaming terrible crimson. This is how it ends. Torn to pieces on my first mission, my father would be ashamed. Chapter 23, Round 2. Back to the present. Thank you for the stretch. Oh, thank you, kiddo. I have a bit of a monster design. And thank you for the roses, Bounce. I appreciate it. Jamie marched along the cell block corridor, Frankenstein following, a couple of steps behind. Jamie had refused to go to the infirmary and have his neck properly dressed, had not even changed his acrid-smelling uniform. Several blacklight operators had stared at the white wad of bandages as he stormed through the hangar, the huge colonel following in his wake. Jamie stopped in front of Larissa's cell, the UV wall shimmering in front of him. She was lying on her bed, her eyes already fixated on him, as though she had been expecting him to arrive. Then Jamie realized that she had probably heard him from the first moment he entered the block. He found it strangely easy to forget that she was a vampire. She smiled at him, and then it died on her lips as Frankenstein stepped into her field of vision and stood next to Jamie. She had a book splayed over her lap, and she immediately brought it up her face, obscuring it from their view. Also, yes, I go when I switch between reading and talking to you lovelies, just so it doesn't get confusing, you know what I mean? The Night Rock, welcome in, lovely. And thank you so much again, Kuro, and thank you everyone for following. I really appreciate it. Mwah. I need to talk to you, said Jamie. The book didn't move. Do you hear me? He asked, anger rising in his voice. I said I need to talk to you. I heard you, said Larissa from behind the book, and there's nothing I'd like more in the world than to talk to you back, but I don't do threesomes. Frankenstein muttered something under his breath. Nothing personal, said Larissa. Jamie looked at the monster, ready to plead with him to leave them alone, but Frankenstein was already turning away from him. Thank you, he shouted, as the huge man's footsteps thumped away along the corridor. When the door at the end of the block giant clanged shut, Larissa put the book down, jumped off the bed, and walked over to him, a wide smile on her face. I knew you would be back, she said. This isn't a social visit, Jamie said sharply. Her eyes dropped from his as he spoke, and then widened as she observed the bandage over the right side of his neck. What happened to you? She asked. Don't tell me someone bit you. The concern in her voice made Jamie's heart flutter. Nothing like that, he replied. I got burnt on a mission. A mission? She exclaimed. Was it a super secret one? I bet it was. Oh, tell me about it. Jamie blushed a deep scarlet, and Larissa laughed. I'm sorry, she said. You just looked so serious with your bandaged neck and your dirty uniform. Did you come down here to tell me off? I came down here to ask you about Alexandria, he said. I came down here because I thought you might be the one person willing to help me. Larissa tilted her head to one side and fluttered her eyelashes. Oh, that's so sweet, she said, choking back fake emotion. Am I your only hope? Jamie turned away from her and strode up the corridor, forcing himself to slow his pace, determined that he would not run away. Wait, she called back, and he stopped. Please, come back. I was only playing. He stood in the corridor between two empty cells, breathing hard. It was embarrassment that had caused him to run. Embarrassment that she was not taking him seriously. And although he couldn't have explained why, it was imperative to him that she do so. He composed himself and walked slowly back to her cell. She smiled as he reappeared, but he saw the last flicker of genuine concern on her face, and he was glad. So hi, Enrique. How are you doing today, lovely? Also, no worries, Enrique. I'm doing well, thank you. We are reading Department 19, and I hope you enjoy. I'm sorry, she said. I haven't spoken to anyone in 2 days. The guards don't even look at me. Then they're idiots, Jamie thought and blushed. Larissa sat down, cross-legged on the floor of her cell, and waited for him to do the same. He folded himself to the ground, carefully, moving his neck as little as was possible. Then, they were facing each other, no more than a meter apart, the UV field flickering between them. Will you tell me where Alexandria is? He asked. She shook her head. Oh, why not? Because I don't know, honestly. Will you tell me where the last place you saw him was? She shook her head again, causing a lock of dark hair to fall across her forehead. Oh, why not? Because if I tell you, I'll never leave this cell again. I can talk to them. It won't work. I'll take you there, but I won't tell you. I hope you can understand the difference. So hi, Red. Hi, Mai. If you want a recap of what happened previously, you can go to my Discord server, link in my profile. I've already done a recap of what's going on. But yes, right now, Jamie is talking to a woman called Larissa, who is a vampire who's tried to kill him several times, but she's the only one with information where his mother is. So he's playing along. And he's also attracted to her, so that's an issue. Who knows how old she is? He's a teenage boy. Jamie lowered his head. He knew she was right. If she had admitted to not knowing anything, Seward would have her destroyed. If she told him what she did know, Seward would also have her destroyed. Her only chance was to admit she had information, refuse to reveal it, and hope they became desperate enough to play the game on her terms. He looked up. So you're useless then, he said, as spitefully as he was able. She flinched, and a tremor of hurt rippled momentarily across her face. Good, he thought. I didn't say I wouldn't help you, she said, sounding for the first time like the teenager she had been before she was turned. I just won't tell you where I last saw Alexandra. Ask me something else. There's nothing else I want to know. Really? Really. All that matters is him and my mother. You're really worried about her, aren't you? Jamie looked at her. Of course I am. You should be. You have no idea what Alexandria is capable of. I don't want to hear this. I know I don't need to, but I don't want to. I know I need to, but I just don't want to. What's he like? He asked. He's the second oldest vampire in the world, Larissa replied. He does whatever he wants whenever he wants. He kills humans for food. He kills vampires and humans for fun. There's nothing you can do to stop him. I don't believe that. You know what you need to. You'll get hurt if you don't. And I don't want to see that happen. She smiled at him, and he felt his stomach revolve. A year ago, a girl who was running with him killed a farmer in Cornwall, she continued. She came back to the place we were staying covered in his blood, absolutely dripping with it. Anderson asked her if anyone had seen her, and she confessed that the man's family might have seen her leaving the barn where she found him. What happened? Asked Jamie. Alexander tore her to pieces in front of everyone. He pulled this poor, stupid girl limb to limb and laughed at her as she screamed. There were probably 20 vampires in the room, some of them old, all of them powerful, and no one's even said a word or looked away, even when he ate her heart. Jamie felt bile rise in his stomach. She got offended by a teenage boy. I think she was turned into a vampire when she was a teenage, so I guess she still has the mindset. You're the oldest one, yeah. Also, thank you so much for the tier 1 subs in 8 months. Gosh, it's been a long time, hasn't it? I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying the reading. 8 months. And I apologize, name, but I do reading streams. I might do gaming streams. I'm doing a gaming stream tomorrow at 9 p.m. British time, if you want to tune in for that. I'm playing Mega Chameleon then. If anyone wants to join, I have an announcement on my Discord server with the details, link on my profile. Anyone is welcome, and I'd love to have you there. Thank you for the consume water, Vic. I'll do that now. Okay, 20 squats. Oh, you little. Okay, let's do 20 squats, shall we? Then I'll get back to the reading. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, let me get my chair. Hold on. All right. The squat's complete. Let's continue. So, hi, Ripley. Welcome, and how are you doing today, lovely? We are reading Development 19, and I hope you enjoy. Well, thank you for the stretch. I'm doing alright, quite tired though, because of all the squats I've been doing today. He sent Anderson out to the farm the girl had come from, she continued. Anderson killed the farmer's family, his wife, and 3 children. He cut their throats and let them bleed out on the kitchen floor, staring at each other as they died. Larissa looked at him, a gentle expression on her face. That's what Alexandria is like, she said, softly. He's an animal, a clever, cunning animal, who delights in violence and mayhem. Era mayhem? Is this a League of Legends reference? He's stronger and faster than anyone else. Human or vampire, and he can sense danger before it appears. You can't trick him or sneak up on him, and you certainly can't fight him. Jamie stared at her, hopelessness filling his chest. Then, what am I supposed to do? He asked. That's easy. You're supposed to make sure you never cross his path. But that's not an option for you, is it? Not really. In that case, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't see any way you pursuing Alexandru ends with anything apart from him killing you. Jamie looked at the disconsolate expression on Jamie's face, and sympathy overwhelmed her. I'm not the authority on Alexandru, she said gently. Talk to people. Maybe someone knows something I don't. Jamie looked at her, and his pale blue eyes were heavy with despair. No one will tell me anything, he said, his voice cracking. They're all terrified of him. No one will risk him finding out they talk to me. Talk to the monster. Why? Because all this started with your dad, and my understanding is that they were close. Frankenstein said the same thing. Ask him about Ilyana. Ask him about Hungary. Ask him why he hasn't told you about it already. And if you're feeling brave, ask him whose side he's really on. Jamie felt a wave of nausea shoot through him. Thank you, he said, stiffly. She flashed him a dazzling smile and reclined on the floor of her cell. Her grey shirt rode up, exposing a band of pale midriff, and Jamie fought the urge to stare at it. Always glad to be of service, she said. And that is the end of that section. I am just going to drink some water and then we'll continue. Oh, thank you, Ripley. I appreciate it. Nice, Hilda. Welcome in. How are you doing today? Okay. Sorry. Meep, meep. He knocked on the door to Frankenstein's quarters and waited. It was late, well past midnight, but he doubted the monster would be asleep. He had been standing in the corridor for almost 15 minutes, preparing himself, thinking about his father, really thinking about his father, for the first time since his life had been turned upside down. Also, Ducky, I'd very much appreciate it if you did not mention anything with inappropriate connotations in my stream. My stream is for all ages. Well, 13 plus. So, thank you for understanding. He had rejected the things Soward had told him, out of hand. The thought that his dad could have betrayed his friends and allied himself with someone like Alexandru was impossible for him to accept. So don't worry, Ripley, I was talking to someone on the clock app who said something a bit too freaky. Where was I? But then he had thought about his mother, asking her husband every evening, year after year, how his dad had been, and thought about his father smiling and lying to her face, inventing people who didn't exist and stories that hadn't happened, and his faith in the man he had loved more than any other had been shaken. Yes, Vic, the talk app. And hi, Loki. Welcome in. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. Larissa was right. He needed to know more about Julian Carpenter, about the real man his father had been. Thank you for the gift, Victor. There was a shuffling noise from behind the door. Then it opened, and a huge face loomed out of the darkened room. Is something wrong? The monster grunted. Jamie shook his head.
So why are you here?
I want to ask you some questions.
About what?
About my dad. Frankenstein looked at the teenager for a long moment, then sighed deeply.
Give me 5 minutes,
he said, and closed the door. And that is the end of that section. We are going back to 1929 with John Carpenter in the ball with all the vampires, next to Valentin Rizmanov. He is absolutely doomed. Chapter 24. The City That Never Sleeps, Part 3. New York, the 1st of January, 1929.
Happy New Year, Mr. Carpenter,
said Valentin Rizmanov in a smooth, gentle voice.
I wonder if it will be your last.
Carpenter turned slowly to face him. The man's eyes now shone a red that was somehow simultaneously both dark and bright against the pale perfection of his skin.
Do you know me?
Valentin continued. Carpenter nodded. Silver. What are we talking about?
Come good, we are well met, and I welcome you to my home, although why you are here is a great deal that interests me.
Valentin glanced over at someone in the crowd and nodded. There was a commotion in the crowd as the guests parted, creating a path to where Carpenter and Valentin stood. Through this new gap, 2 large men in white tie appeared, dragging a barely conscious Frankenstein between them, and depositing him heavily onto the floor. The monster's eyes rolled in his head, and his mouth hanging stupidly open. Carpenter made to kneel next to the fallen man, but Valentine told him sharply to stay where he was, and he forced himself to comply. Hi, Jax. Welcome in, lovely. How are you doing today? We are reading Department 19 by Will L, and I hope you enjoy.
Your friend has an impressive appetite for opium,
said Valentin.
It isn't easy to incapacitate a man of his size, but we persevered.
He smiled at Carpenter, but when he spoke again, his voice contained not a trace of humor.
Tell me, Mr. Carpenter, are you here to kill me?
Oh, so hi, Nick. No, this is the first book in the series, but there are a lot of other books. Department 19 is the first book in the series of many. Let me search up how many books there are real quick. Hold on. How many books are there in the series of 19? Okay. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, there are 5 books. Yeah, there are 5 books. This is the first one out of the 5.
Oh, no, Void. No, don't do that.
Fig, we don't say that number here, darling. Mama, but I agree. Sorry, let's continue, shall we? Let me drink something. Carpenter was surprised to find his equilibrium returning. The likely inevitability of his death had sunk into him, and he was determined that he would not show this creature fear if he could help it.
No, he replied, that is not my mission, but I would certainly consider it a bonus.
Valentin took half a step towards him, his teeth bared, an awful serpentine hiss rising in his throat, then quickly regained his composure and laughed, a high feminine sound that echoed around the cavernous ballroom.
Fig, I told you, we can't say that here, okay? if you keep on saying that, I'm gonna get really angry with you. And Void, don't worry. I think you'll be alright. Okay?
Oh shit. Hi, welcome in, Tristy. How you doing? You can't say that fake because it is detrimental to my mental health. I can't see now. What am I gonna do, Ripley? Boy, don't worry. It'll regrow. Just become a lizard. Oh? A mongoose. Make up the book as you go, I see. No. This is a pre-written book. I admire your honesty, he said. Most refreshing. So, if you are not here for me, then who are you here for? Given what I know of your father and his friends, I am disinclined to believe you were in New York for a holiday. Am I correct? You are. I came here for one of your guests. Anyone in particular? Jeremiah Haslett. A low murmur of interest rolled through the crowd. And what has Mr. Haslett done to warrant a transatlantic pursuit? His crimes are too numerous to list, but they're also largely irrelevant. He's a vampire, and that alone is enough to warrant his extermination. The crowd around him pulsed and hissed, but he felt no fear. It was already clear to him that Valentin alone was going to decide his fate, that the crowd of snarling vampires would do nothing without his permission. The host regarded him for a long moment, then spoke. Bring Mr. Haslett before me. There was a cry of outrage from within the crowd, and then a commotion as the skeletal figure of Jeremiah Haslett was gripped by 4 vampire men and dragged through the revelers. He was thrown to his knees before Valentin, spluttering and protesting. He rose to his feet, brushing down his dinner jacket, and in an act that must have required superhuman will, Frankenstein did the same, his eyes focusing more clearly on Carpenter, a look of terrible shame on his huge face. The 4 figures stood in a circle, eyeing each other. So welcome in FNF. We are reading Department 19, and I hope you enjoy. And I hope that you're also doing well. What to do? Mused Valentin.
What on earth do you mean?
Cried Haslett.
There is no decision to be made here, surely. Kill him, and this abomination as well, and let us return to our celebration.
Be quiet, Mr. Haslett, said Valentin. Haslett blustered, his face reddening, but did as he was told. Mr. Carpenter, Valentin continued, almost cheerfully. What do you think we should do about this unfortunate situation? Let us leave, replied Carpenter instantly. We'll go without a fuss, and you will not see us again. Around him, the vampires howled with derisory laughter. Valentin didn't even smile. Why should I do that? He asked. Carpenter took a deep breath. Please let this work. He slipped his dinner jacket off and pushed his cummerbund down to his waist. Beneath it was a leather belt wrapped tightly with 3 rows of light brown sticks. Give me 1 second, I need to figure out what on earth this is. Oh, a cummerbund is the sash worn around the waist, part of a man's formal evening suit. Ah. Okay, sorry, I just need to think it's about vampires. Vampires and Department 19, which helps fight them. And Jamie and trying to get his mother back, and the story of Jamie's family and such. Thank you for that, Babs. Can I hurry up? Life is going good. How's your life going? Meep meep. Inserted into the one nearest the belt buckle was a brass fuse wired to a trigger that was now resting lightly in John Carpenter's hand. Because of this, he replied, this is Geglanite, and it will bring this entire house down on all our heads unless you do as I say. There were gasps and shouts from the assembled vampires. Valentin made no sound, but regarded him with a look of genuine admiration. Also, welcome in, Max. How are you doing today? We are reading Department 19, and I hope you enjoy. Bravo, Mr. Carpenter, he said. It is rare to be confronted with a man who is genuinely prepared to die for what he believes in. Bravo. He looked at Haslet, whose narrow's face was white with fear, then at his guests, and then back to John Carpenter. You may go, he said. There was a communal howl of anger from the crowd, and a bellow of objection from Haslet. Valentin's eyes flared crimson, and he stepped into the air, hovering a foot above the ground, so that everyone in the room could see his pale, beautiful face. Silence, he roared. You will do as I say, or none of you will see another night sky. The room fell silent, and he looked down at Carpenter. You are free to go, he said. I am sure we will see each other again, and I'm capable of patience.
What?
Screamed Haslet.
He's free to let me go. He's free to go. He came here tonight to kill me.
That's right, replied Valentin. He did. It's because of you that he is here. He looked at the crowd. Take him, he said. Haslet opened his mouth to say something, but the words died in his throat as the first vampire landed on him. A second leapt from the crowd, then a third, and he screamed as he was borne to the ground, disappearing under a blur of dinner jackets and ball gowns. Tearing sounds, horribly loud, came from within the squirming pile of bodies, and Haslet's screams reached an ear-splitting pitch as dark red liquid began to seep out across the dirty marble floor. Well, hi, Dusty, welcome in. Thank you again for the raid, Kara. But yes, Dusty, I am Solace. I am a reading streamer, and right now we are reading Department 19 by Will Hill, and I hope you enjoy. And I'm Marian. How are you doing today? You doing well? Carpenter turned away, nausea rising in his stomach. Look, shouted Valentin. This is why you are here. So, look. Carpenter turned back and watched. Eventually, the scream stopped, and the vampires began to stand up, their clothes and faces drenched in crimson blood. They stared at him, with frenzied hunger in their eyes. I suggest you leave now, Mr. Carpenter, Valentin said. I will not leave without him, Carpenter replied, gesturing at Frankenstein, who stared at him with an uncomprehending look on his face. Thank you for the Kinsey model, Dusty. Yes, my model is epic. It's very expressive. I can do this. Also, the beep beep sound is I say that when I switch between reading and talking to you lovelies in chat. Just so there isn't any sort of confusion whether what I'm saying is in the book or if it's, in the thing. Oh, thank you, Dusty. I appreciate it. And thank you for the bits. Show off? Maybe. Also, welcome in soon. Let me show the tail. My tail is very epic. Very, very awesome. Okay, let me get my tail out. Give me 1 second. This is my tail. I think you can see it. It's and when I smile, it goes fast because happy. But then when I'm normal, it just goes like this. It's a bit difficult there because I smile so much in normal conversation. It it does get cleaned. Because making stuff up. Yes, it's a snow leopard tail. Let me remove it by now, since that's a bit distracting if you're trying to read. The wings are more relaxing, to say the least. Okay, let me turn it off real quick. But yes, and my tail smells lovely, thank you for, you love the chest mouse. Yes, I love horror. If you really, really like horror-themed VTubers, I recommend a VTuber called Lena Lazar. She streams horror games and she has the coolest models. Trust me. Night Bison, welcome in. Okay. She's so cool. I know. I love her. I wish I could stream horror games, but I'm a scaredy cat who freezes up. I agree, Dusty. I love it. But yes, sorry. Let's continue. Just drink something. Fine, Valentine replied. Take him with you. In truth, I cannot imagine anything worse than the taste of his warmed-over blood. Carpenter stepped forward, gripping the trigger tightly in his hand, and put his other hand on Frankenstein's shoulder. So, Sauce, I am reading. I do reading streams, and we are reading Department 19. And I, Enrique. Can you walk? He asked in a low voice. Frankenstein nodded. All right, said Carpenter. Follow me. Slowly. He turned round and walked carefully towards the crowd of vampires, who stepped out of his way, reluctance painted openly on their faces. The two men walked between their silent, red-eyed guests towards the wide double doors that they had come through only an hour earlier. Carpenter took the carved wooden handle in his hand and was about to turn it when Valentine's voice echoed across the ballroom, and he turned to face the pale vampire. Our paths will cross again, Mr. Carpenter, he said happily. Of that I have no doubt. Happy New Year. Carpenter almost replied, but he forced himself not to. Instead, he opened the door, walked down the hallway, and led Frankenstein out into the night. And that is the end of that section. Hi, Mia. I'm doing, my day is going well, thank you. How's your day going? Nice book. Welcome in. The two men staggered down the steps of the townhouse. They had gone no more than 10 yards from the building, where a familiar voice hailed them, and the sound of running footsteps echoed in the still night air. Good God, John, said Willis, skidding to a halt in front of them, his eyes taking in the Geklanite bout around Carpenter's weight and the dazed look on Frankenstein's face. Are you injured? Do you need me to call the uniforms? Are you... Carpenter cut him off. I'm fine, he said. We're fine. The mission was a success.
Well, that's splendid,
exclaimed Willis, but his face still wore a mask of concern.
I shall need to speak to you before I prepare my report. But perhaps tomorrow would be more agreeable.
Carpenter told him that he was sure it would, He was sure it would, and thanked the American. Willis took a final look at the two men in their now disheveled dinner suits, then turned and disappeared along West 85th Street. I come with some very important law about, it was something I heard on a podcast recently and I looked into it and it was very interesting. But yes, it's a bit of a story about Thomas Jefferson. So, Thomas Jefferson, he had a wife, and that wife had a half-sister who was a lot younger than her, and she was around 14, and all of them, they went on holiday to France together, and the 14-year-old girl came back pregnant. She was a slave. She was Thomas Jefferson's slave. She was 14. He was in his 40s. And he had illegitimate children with her. And in his will, he freed the illegitimate children from being enslaved, but he never freed the woman. And he was married to her stepsister. So Thomas Jefferson, it's a really messed up story. And they were between the descendants of Thomas Jefferson and the illegitimate children. There was a DNA match, so it is confirmed. Thomas Jefferson was a pedophile slave owner. A massive hypocrite. I don't know, I just thought there was everyone knows the story about Thomas Jefferson, how he had slaves, but no one ever talks about how he was a pedophile who emotionally manipulated and groomed a child. And he had her as a sort of housekeeper his entire life. Look into it if you want to. It is a true, sad story. If you want another person to look into on the topic of that, look into John Brown. He is a fascinating character. Sorry, Victor. I had America, and I get like these random fact links, if that makes sense. And yeah, sorry. I'll get back to reading. And Silver, we don't praise that guy. Let's continue. Carpenter and Frankenstein walked slowly down Central Park, west, looking for a carriage. After 2 blocks, Frankenstein stumbled to his knees and vomited into the icy gutter. But when he stood up, his eyes were clearer, and he looked at John Carpenter. Also, I didn't see. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Flyer, for the tofu. I appreciate it.
I let you down,
He said.
I'm sorry.
We're still alive, and Carpenter replied. That's all that matters.
Thanks entirely to you.
Carpenter regarded the huge man. His voice was low and trembling, but his face twitched with anger. He was obviously deeply ashamed.
You saved my life,
Frankenstein said.
when you could have left me, but you didn't. Why didn't you?
Carpenter shrugged. The thought never occurred to me, he answered. Frankenstein studied him carefully, looking into the Englishman's open, honest face. He saw nothing but the truth, and in the sluggish opium-addled depths of the monster's mind, a decision was made.
I owe you my life,
Frankenstein said slowly.
I don't say that lightly.
The carpenter opened his mouth to protest, but Frankenstein waved a hand at him and continued.
If there's anything I can do to help you, you only have to ask. Whatever it is, whatever you are.
I appreciate the offer, Carpenter replied, but I don't need a bodyguard.
Given the last thing Valentin said to you,
Frankenstein replied.
I'm not sure that's entirely true.
And that is the end of that section. I'm just going to have a bit more water and a throat sweet, and then we'll continue. Let me get my throat sweets. I don't know, my throat's really hurting today. Was a hi, kiddo? Did I say hi to you already? Oh, did I? I don't remember, but hi, kiddo. I bet you haven't asked you how you're doing. How are you doing, lovely? Chapter 25. He was my friend, and I loved him. Jamie and Frankenstein sat in one of the offices on level A. The base was quiet. The soldiers made their way through the halls, heading for patrol duties as their comrades slept on the lower levels. Frankenstein was nursing an enormous mug of black coffee that he had stopped to collect from the officers' mess as they made their way up through the base. Jamie had poured a plastic cup of water from the dispenser in the corner of the office and was looking expectantly at the monster. Frankenstein tipped the coffee to his lips, eyeing the teenager over the rim of his mug. Eventually, he spoke.
Stop looking at me like that,
He said.
I don't know what you want me to tell you, so if you've got questions, just ask them.
Okay, replied Jamie, settling himself into his chair. When did you first meet my dad? Frankenstein tilted his head, stared at the ceiling, and cast his mind back.
I met him the day he joined us.
He said eventually.
1979, that was. We knew he was coming. The birthdays of descendants always get around. It's a big moment. You've seen how seriously Blacklight takes its history. A new descendant is that history, in the flesh. And Julian was something special. We knew that before he even arrived.
What was so special about him? Asked Jamie. He leant forward onto his elbows as the monster talked. Hi, Joshua. Hi, Monster. And hi, Dilly. How you lovelies doing? In VR, I think the best way to play VR without feeling sick is to do it sitting down. If you just sit down, have your feet on the floor, and don't move your head from side to side too much, then it's okay. You could also turn down your sensitivity, so it's harder to move your head from, move the world from left to right. Also drink water. I hope if you're feeling sick right now, I really hope you're feeling better soon. Okay? Take care of yourself. And I'd very much appreciate it if you did not call me that, Pittis. It makes me uncomfortable. Thank you for your understanding. Where was I?
He was famous inside the military and out when he passed his Admiralty interview board.
What's that? Interrupted Jamie.
Yes, that's what you have to pass if you're going to become an officer in the Marines.
Hold on. The Marines? As in the Royal Marines? Frankenstein sighed.
Yes, Jamie, the Royal Marines. Your father scored off the scales at the interview board and word got around the military about it. Then he broke 3 commando course records and people started to really pay attention to him. And by then he was already playing rugby for England, so...
He was doing what? Exclaimed Jamie.
This will be much easier,
said Frankenstein, leveling his eyes at the teenager.
If you don't interrupt me every 30 seconds.
Sorry, said Jamie.
It's all right. Julian was a top-class rugby player. He played for England schools for the under-18s and broke through into the full national team when he was 19. His first full year in the Marines, he was capped 7 or 8 times.
Why only 7 or 8?
He stopped playing when he joined Blacklight. But when he turned up here on his 21st birthday and he was already well known, there was no internet in those days, but his name had been in the papers, and everyone was excited to meet him. He arrived with your grandfather John and was met by Peter Seward, who was the director at the time. I've never seen those old men so proud, so excited about a new recruit.
Little recap. Okay, so the man who was in the ballroom, that's Jamie's grandfather. John Carpenter is his dad. And what's his dad's name? His dad's name, I forgot. I forgot. I have no idea what Jamie's dad's name is. I remember his mum's name is Mary. And I'm Lord. Welcome in. How are you doing today? Frankenstein looked at Jamie, a pained smile on his face. Now tell me, said Jamie quietly. Don't stop now.
It was an incredible time,
Frankenstein said, after a pause and a deep gulp of coffee.
Quincy Harker had stepped down as the director a decade earlier, and Peter Seward had taken over. He didn't really want the job, but he was Quincy's closest friend, and when Harker retired to look after his wife, Seward saw it as his duty to carry on his friend's work, and he did a good job of it, a damn good job. Even though he would never believe it, he oversaw the changing of the guard from the generation that dragged Blacklight up after the World War II to the new generation who would take it forward again.
He smiled, a genuine smile of nostalgia.
Legends walked these corridors, Albert and Arthur Holmwood, David Harker, who was Quincy's oldest son, Ben Seward, who was the director's son, Leandro Gonzalez, David Morris, and of course, John Carpenter was Peter Seward's closest friend in the department after Quincy left. They retired at the same time in 1982, convinced that Blacklight was in safe hands.
Was it? Asked Jamie. His eyes were wide as he listened to the monster's story. Also, hi, Anaya. I am so sorry about yesterday. For some reason, the bits thing didn't appear on the side, but I did 40 squats at the start of stream. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I feel really guilty about it, but yeah, it appeared when I went on my, like, it doesn't appear on my OBS chat since it was like a custom bits thing. But I feel really guilty. I promise I did the 40 squats at the start of stream. You can ask Fig. Fig was there. So hi, Toby. Welcome in. How are you doing today? I am quite sleepy. But aside from that, I'm alright. Yeah, Fig, I think you were there. Maybe Sniper was there. One of you was there. Oh, thank you, Fig. Yeah, I got my model's pretty cool. Anyways, sorry. Night Mouse, what's up? How are you doing today? But yes, I promise I did them, Anaya, and I hope you're doing well. And thank you for the roses. Okay, let's continue. Was it? Oh, you're ready. There's a lot of yap. Okay. Frankenstein drained the last of his coffee and set the mug down on the table.
Everything you see around you, the base and everything in it, is the result of Stephen Holmwood's tenure as director. He petitioned the government to increase Blacklight's budget, and he sank the new funds into this place. He sent your father on a fact-finding mission to America in 1984 to visit NS9, which is the equivalent of Department 19.
Was it bye-bye, Victor? I hope you feel better soon. I just got 20 squats redeemed, so I am gonna do them real quick. Let's do 20 squats, shall we? This is my face reaction to having to do 20 squats. Wait, I forgot what toggle did I click? Shit. Was that it? No. Fuck. That's my glasses. That's my... Help! I don't remember what toggle this is, and now I'm in the darkness. Hold on. Let me disable it through VTube Studio. Night Joker, how you doing today? Okay, I accidentally... Okay. There we go. That's sorted out. No, I'm not mad anymore. Anyway, we're gonna do 20 squats, then we'll get back to the reading. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, 20 squats done. Let me get my chair again. Hold on. Yeah. So thank you, Ivan. I appreciate it. And hi, Hamster. Welcome in. How are you doing today, lovely? We are reading Department 19, and I hope you enjoy. Okay. Also, I'm very sorry my throat is hurting, so I'm not going to be able to do the deep Frankenstein voice. Let's continue, shall we? And I'm glad you're doing okay, Hamster. Where was I? He was gone for 10 weeks, and he returned home with a report that was the blueprint for the loop. We expanded, taking the best men from all 3 branches of the military, widening our sphere of operations, hunting across Europe and beyond, running missions into Africa and Asia for the first time since the war. Stefan worked with the departments of the other countries, sharing data and resources, sending men on exchanges to every corner of the world, organizing and establishing areas of responsibility, so the entire globe came under the jurisdiction of the various organizations. He grinned wickedly. The vampires were decimated, he continued. They had come to believe that if they kept their heads down, they would be safe. But that was no longer true. We pursued them, chasing them from town to town, from country to country, even and we destroyed them, one after the other. There was nowhere for them to hide. He stopped talking and looked down at the surface of the desk. What happened? Asked Jamie. Frankenstein raised his head and looked at him, and Jamie was alarmed to see that the monster's misshapen eyes were damp with tears. Stefan died, he said simply. He had a heart attack in 1989. No warning, he just died at his desk in his quarters. That's horrible, said Jamie in a low voice.
It was,
Said Frankenstein.
It devastated the department. No one knew what to do. Stefan had been the heart of everything, and suddenly he was gone. There was no director, and the people who were best able to step up and keep us going were the people who were most shattered by his death. So, when Daniel Morris put himself forward, everyone was so grateful, and they said yes before they'd even thought about it.
Tom told me his father was director, said Jamie, remembering the conversation in the fallen gallery.
He said it
wasn't for very long, though.
Too long,
whispered Frankenstein, and Jamie recoiled.
Dan Morris wasn't a bad man,
he continued, after a pause.
Far from it, really. He was impulsive and he was aggressive, and that made him a great operator but a terrible director.
So hi, Caleb. Hi, Noxall. Welcome in, lovelies. Welcome in, lovelies. How are you doing today? We are reading Department 19. I hope you enjoy.
It was difficult for him to take over in the circumstances he did. It would have been difficult for anyone. Stefan caused such a long shadow, but that doesn't excuse the risks he took and the people who got hurt.
Frankenstein got up from the table and poured himself water from the dispenser. He sat back down heavily in front of Jamie.
We should have seen it coming. I should have seen it coming, but it took a long time for Blacklight to recover after Stefan died, and so for at least a year no one was paying much attention to what Dan was doing. A night mission here, an overseas operation without proper clearance there. Small things to start with.
The monster sipped his water.
In March of 1993, Dan ordered an operation into Romania, modern Transylvania. Where all this started in 1891, this part of the world is under the jurisdiction of the SPC, the Russian Supernatural Protection Commissariat, and they have never taken kindly to foreign departments operating in their sphere of influence. Under the Soviets, it was almost impossible even to enter their territory, and the penalties for doing so were so severe. But then the USSR collapsed, and the SPC started slowly to extend its hand towards the other departments. Your father led a delegation to Moscow in the late 1992, the first of its kind in almost 50 years, and he came back home excited about having Russia back in the fold. Then, Dan ordered Operation Nightingale, and we nearly lost them. Forever.
Meep, meep. Romania mentioned? Yeah. Oh, doing the Frankenstein deep voice really hurts my throat. I'm gonna drink some more to then I'll continue. The deep voice is difficult though. Hi, Reaper. Welcome in. How are you doing today?
You want me to do the Deku voice? I guess I could do the Deku voice for a bit, but I don't know. This voice makes me feel really nervous, Vic.
But this is the deep voice here is what this is the deep voice they have to do for Frankenstein, and that is very difficult and straining on my throat.
I'm pretty good at voices, aren't I? I'm so glad to hear you're doing awesome, Reaper. Artist says, can't.
Deku, I do not want you dropping the soap, okay? You cannot drop the soap in front of Todoroki, or else I'm gonna be really angry.
Anyways. And I'm doing well, Reaper. Thank you for asking. I'm quite sleepy, though, I have to say. The Deku voice is also quite difficult, Frog. Dem says, no, I just got hit. I'm sorry for the trauma, darling. Okay, I'll do this part in the Deku voice. Oh, thank you, Mouse. It's very sweet. I do a lot of practice for that sort of thing. Okay, let's read this next part in the Deku voice.
It was a mission to destroy a blood factory near Craiova. A vampire gang was kidnapping people, mostly drug addicts and the homeless, from all across central London, and bleeding them in a old slaughterhouse. Hundreds of men and women a year, God knows how long. Then selling the blood on the black market. We'd known about it for a couple of years and reported it to the SPC on a number of occasions. We got nothing back, not even acknowledgement that the message had arrived. That's what it was like when the Iron Curtain, who still stood. Information disappeared into a black hole. That's when the curtain came down. We reported it again, and this time we got a reply saying that the factory was a priority SPC's target. 6 months later, and still nothing had happened, so Dan sent a team in.
That was an interesting voice. Frankenstein looked back at Jamie. Do a Mickey Mouse voice? I could try that. And I'm Manson. Welcome in, lovely. How you doing? Let's try the Mickey Mouse voice.
Frankenstein looked at Jamie. When I think back to that day, you were there.
Interrupted Jamie.
You went on a mission. Of course,
replied Frankenstein.
Me and your father, Paul Turner, and 17 other blacklight men. We flew in on the 18th of March, 1993, and we reached the factory in the late morning of the following day. What happened? Oh, they were waiting for us. More than 70 vampires, all well fed and rested, wide awake and waiting when we went through the door. I noticed that the black paint covering the windows was still wet, and I told your father,
who wanted everyone to retreat, but it was too late. They came down from the rafters. We never stood a chance.
That's my best impression. I'm sorry. I tried my best, okay? You like that AC in my profile picture? Hold on. Give me 1 second to check that out. Let's see. I can't see it very well, but I like the part of the red in it. The red is nice. Sorry, I'll keep reading now. Where was I? You okay, Henrik? Everything alright? They came down from rafters. We never stood a chance. But you made it out, and so did my dad, and Major Turner. We were lucky. That's all there is to it. Maybe we're a little more experienced. Some of the team were just boys. No more than a year or two under their belts. When we saw them coming, we turned and ran. I was the last one to make it out of the building. How many of you made it? Asked Jamie, his voice taut with horror.
6 of us,
replied Frankenstein.
6 of us made it into the sunlight, and 14 men died in a dark building full of blood and death.
Frankenstein reached for his mug, saw that it was empty, and pushed it aside. Dan could never prove the Russians, let them know we were coming. The operation was an unauthorized run into another department's territory, as there were no permissions. No log, no call logs to check. But that didn't matter to him. Your father defended the SPC, told Dan he didn't believe they would let Blacklight men die to make a point. But the director was convinced. He ordered Department 19 to sever all ties with the SPC and drew up a letter asking the Prime Minister to expel Russian diplomatic staff from London. The letter claimed that the SPC had committed an act of war, and it should be treated as such. What's the hi, CSTT? How are you doing today, lovely? Hi. But if it was an unauthorized mission, protested Jamie. Frankenstein smiled at him. You can see the problem. 14 years later, and your father and I could see it. We weren't alone either. At that point, the mission was the biggest disaster in Blacklight history. Losing 14 men in one day had a terrible impact on the department. Just about every operator knew one of the men who had died, and there was a lot of anger about what had happened. So, a lot of it aimed at Dan Morris, so your father took control of the situation. What did he do? He and a number of the senior operators, Henry Seward, Paul Turner, and myself amongst them, made a formal motion to the Chief of General Staff that Dan Morris be removed as director. We explained the mistake he had made in ordering the mission and the huge overreaction he was planning in response to its failure. And we asked that he be relieved of duty for the good of Blacklight. Thankfully, the General agreed with us and did we ask. Also, hi, Floyd, welcome in. That voice, bro?
Oh, do you prefer this voice? I think this voice is a bit sillier. I could speak in this voice if you want me to.
Anyways, I could do a lot of silly voices. And hi, Arties, meep meep. I agree. Where was I? Jack Entertainment Cheese? What does that mean, Silver? No wonder you and Tom don't get on, said Jamie softly. He must hate you for doing that to his dad. He can hate me all he wishes, said Frankenstein sharply. I don't give a damn what he thinks. We did what we did because it needed doing, because more men would have died needlessly if we hadn't. I don't regret it for a moment. What happened to Tom's dad? Did he stay in Blacklight? He could have, said Frankenstein. He was removed as director, not from the department, and there were plenty of people who tried to persuade him to do so, including your father. But his pride would not allow it. He left the day after he was removed from the office. The monster looked at Jamie. He put a pistol in his mouth 6 months later. But Jesus, whispered Jamie. They sat in silence for a few minutes, the sad tale of Thomas Morris' father hanging in the air between them. Good night, Dilly. Hi. Manana. Eventually, when Jamie spoke, "So that was when Admiral Seward took charge?" he asked. Frankenstein nodded. He was Commander Seward then, but yes, he studied the ship with your father's help, and the department recovered. Everything was fine for more than a decade. Henry and Julian were a great team, and Blacklight prospered. And then Budapest happened, and nothing was ever really the same again. Jamie sat forward, his eyes full of dreadful inevitability. "What happened in Budapest?" he asked. And that is the end of that section. I'm gonna drink some water and then we'll continue. And I'm doing well, thank you, Dilly. I'm also quite sleepy, but I'm having a really good day. Because I'm having a good day because my neighbors, I'm looking after their cat, and just having a cat around makes me so happy. It was so cute. I'm a bit allergic to it. Like I've got yeah. Thank you for the water consume. Let me drink something real quick. Thank you for the stretch. Water and stretch get done. I just got 20 squats redeemed on the Purple app, so we're gonna do those before we get back to reading. Also, hi, Night. Hi, Garrett. How do I stream like that? I use VTube Studio. I commissioned a model artist and then an animator to make this avatar for me. And yeah. Also, Guy, I'd very much appreciate it if you didn't send that emote in my chat. It has inappropriate connotations. Thank you. I'm gonna delete those. Please do not send that here. My streams are for all ages. Okay. But yes. The calm before the storm. Okay, let me just ban them. I don't want that shit in my... Okay. There we go. You need to be on stuff. It's very expensive unless you make if you buy a pre-made model. But basically you need VTube Studio on Steam on your computer, and then you can capture that versus OBS using OBS Studio. And then if you want on TikTok, you can do you can set your camera as a VTube Studio camera, and yeah. Also, there are lots of tutorials on YouTube, so they can explain it better than mine. And thank you for the roses, Theat. I appreciate it. And hi, Remy. It's very sweet of you. Not bad. I am doing well today. I am quite sleepy. I normally don't stream for so long, but I'm having a good day because I was petting a cute cat. If you want to see the cat that I was petting, if you click the link in my profile, then go to my Discord server. I posted the cat on the Organisms channel. It's really cute. There's this one video of him like rubbing his head against my hand, and then he starts sneezing because of my perfume. But yes, let's continue reading, shall we? Chapter 26. The beginning of the end. Reference to the beginning of the end? No way, peak novel. Anyways. And I'm glad you managed to get some sleep, Remy. You'd keep on taking care of yourself, alright? Molnar Estate, near Budapest, Hungary. 12th of February, 2005. Also, I'm reading Department 19 by Will Hill. If you want recaps of what happened previously, you can click the link in my profile, and then go to my Discord server, and I have a recaps channel there. And this part is about Jamie's dad, Julian Carpenter. Julian Carpenter fired his T-bone at point-blank range, turning his head away as the vampire exploded in a shower of blood, soaking his blacklight uniform.
King Julian!
Sorry, he turned to the four men standing behind him. "Be careful, remember here," he said. Four faces looked back at him. The huge mottled face of Frankenstein gave a quick grin, and Paul Turner stared at him without expression, his grey eyes cold and calm. The two young operators, Connor and Miller, looked at him with queasy uncertainty, their training just about masking their obvious fear. Carpenter felt for them. Neither should have been on a mission with such a high-value target, and all five men knew it. The two young privateers had less than a year's experience between them, and it was Connor's first live operation. You cannot move it anymore. Soon you'll be able to. Also, Remy, this is me doing audiobook styling. I don't do them officially online because I like doing breaks between things. And I like talking and I mess up and I'd have to spend a long time editing, recording, and I just can't be asked. Also, yes, Koa, I have. Let me check what chapter I'm on. I haven't read it for a long time since I got invested in Alchemized. Give me 1 second, darling. What chapter am I on? Sorry, I'm just looking at my phone. I'm on chapter 3017. Also, Coed, funny thing, the name is not a reference to that. Solace is just what I've gone by for a long time, and I've also gone by Cinny, and I prefer to Sin Solace over Cinny Solace. I started reading Shadow Slave at around when it's been years and years, holy shit, since maybe 2023? Yeah. It's a very funny thing. Also, Delta, I'd very much appreciate it if you did not call me that. It makes me uncomfortable. Thank you for your understanding. And bubble tea as always, mister. How you doing today? Is any air like her? Yeah. I am doing ASMR reading, Karen. I'd very much appreciate it, Jan, if you did not call me that. Thank you for your understanding. And I have read lots of Orv. I love Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. I read a tiny bit of Lord of the Mysteries, but I didn't really check it out. Also, Koa, don't worry, I wasn't, saying that. I'm sorry, Koa, I didn't mean to make you feel like that. I'm sorry. Anyways, you still streaming? Yes. All right. Let's continue, shall we? Where was I? I'm checking out my book again. Oh, that's awesome, Koa. I'd love to see them. Send me them in the Discord server sometime. Link in my profile. Yeah, ask away, Ivan. Where was I? There had been no time to examine records. The intelligence that had drawn them to this exquisite estate on the edge of Budapest had needed acting on immediately. And Carpenter had gathered the first 4 able-bodied men he could find. 2 of them had been Frankenstein and Turner, veterans of hundreds of operations, and 2 of his closest friends in Blacklight, Connor and Miller, would just have to do what they had been trained for. Eventually, every operator was required to sink or swim. Carpenter had been overseeing the shift change in the ops room when the report had first come in. At the beginning, he thought it was a practical joke. It was written by a Blacklight mayor called John Bryant, who was celebrating his 30th wedding anniversary with his wife on a cruise down the Danube. He and his wife had taken a stroll down the river, banks of Budapest, and had literally walked into the Alexandru Rusmanov and his wife, Ilyana. 90 minutes later, Carpenter's team were in the air, heading east. They were strapped onto benches inside an EC-720 Cougar that had been stripped down and essentially rebuilt. The improvements that had most pleased Julian Carpenter had been to the rotors and the engines, which now delivered a cruising speed of just over 300 miles per hour. This was significantly faster than the publicly acknowledged world record speed for a helicopter, and it meant that the flight to Budapest would take a little more than an hour. Mina, the supersonic blacklight jet that could have covered the distance to Budapest in less than 20 minutes, was in Tokyo, and he could not afford to wait for the Harker brothers to bring her home. Julian pressed a button in the console next to his seat, and a screen folded down from the ceiling. The most recent photo of Alexandru filled the frame, and he told the 4 men on the benches to study it carefully. Also, Delta, I'm sorry if you keep on mentioning things like that. I will have to block you from the live. As I've said before, that sort of thing makes me uncomfortable, and this stream is 13+, and I don't want anyone who is under the age of 18 exposed to any content that is inappropriate in any way. Thank you for understanding. Also, what is Shadow Slave about? Shadow Slave is a web novel written by Guilty 3. It's about a boy called Sunny who lives in a world where some people are infected by something called the Nightmare Spell, and they basically have to overcome a challenge in a dream. If they do not survive it, they become a monster. And the world is slowly getting more and more infected by these monsters, and there is another world called the Dream Realm, which if you survive the nightmare, you get a magical power, but also a flaw. And if you pass this challenge, you can go into this other realm called the Dream Realm, filled with monsters. Yes, and that's what it's about. And he's very weak, which is a great thing in these sorts of novels, because often you have like an overpowered character, but he starts off very, very weak, and you follow him through his journey. It is a fantastic novel. Even my mum's into it. Me and my mum have been reading it for 3 years. Since it's fantastic. Only around 3,300, Vic. The chapters are short though, okay? Anyway, sorry, I'll continue. Where was I? This is Alexandru Rismanov, he said, raising his voice slightly above the steady pulse of the helicopter's engines. Turner Frankenstein, I know you don't need reminding of just how dangerous this target is. So, Connor Miller, I say this is for your benefit. Nothing in your training has prepared you for dealing with a vampire as old and powerful as Alexandru. Nothing. He contemplated the eager, nervous faces of the 2 pirates. You're looking at the second oldest vampire in the world. He was turned by Dracula himself along with his brothers Valerie and Valentin more than 400 years ago. He is powerful in a way that distorts the scales. He can knock down buildings, he can move faster than your eyes can follow. He can fly indefinitely. And more than that, he is clever. And he is vicious. He views humanity as nothing more than a herd of cattle from which to draw his sustenance. If he chooses to, he will kill you without a millisecond's hesitation. Carpenter pressed the button again, and the image changed to a black and white photo of a stunningly beautiful woman with dark hair and sharp features. This is Ilyana, Alexandru's wife. She is almost as old as he is. He turned her himself with Dracula's permission. She has stood at his side for more than 4 centuries and is every bit as dangerous as her husband. In modern psychology terminology, Ilyana is a pure psychopath, without empathy for others, without feelings for anyone apart from her husband. She is unpredictable and she is deadly. Hear me out. I think I like her. I think I like her. Relationship goals? Anyways, The final press of the button sent the screen folding back into the ceiling. Carpenter looked at his team and saw fear in the faces of Connor and Miller. Good, he thought. They need to be scared. They know where you said him yet? Shh. Don't tell anyone, Kira. Do you speak any other languages? Ik kan een beetje Deutsch spreken et un peu français aussi. Et toi? Parles-tu autre, I forgot the word languages is in French. Sprach. Ich weiß, dass in Deutsch es ist sprechen. Sprechen? Weiß nicht. Je ne sais pas. Both these targets are high-value targets. Both these individuals are high-value targets. Rated A1 by every department in the world. Our organization orders to eliminate them both. If that proves impossible, then if the opportunity only arrives to make one kill, then Alexandru is the priority. Understood? The 4 men on the benches shouted as they did. That they did, and Julian nodded. I hope you do, he thought. I really hope you do. Ich bin in Kebab. Oh, das ist total cool. Also, hi, Struggle. Welcome in. I'm feeling well, thank you. I'm doing well. We are just reading Department 19 by Will Hill. This is the last section I'm going to read before, yeah. And I hope you enjoy. Holy shit, I never look at the likes. Thank you, Kieran. I appreciate it. Also, Pompey, I think I'm gonna have to pass on that. I'll eat a slow-roasted billionaire's arm, though. Anaya, did you just redeem 20 Scots? Oh, you. Okay, we're gonna do 20 Scots and then we'll continue, alright? How many Scots have I done today? Will someone calculate it? I'm anemic, I need more red blood cells. Me too. Well, for me it's I have this thing where let me get back to my mic for a second. For me, I have this thing, it's kind of like sickle cell. Sickle cell anemia, which just means my red blood cells are smaller, and which means they have less surface area for less so they can contain less hemoglobin, which carries oxygen around to areas of the body, which means I am extra tired. But they also provide immunity to malaria, which is very, very cool. So sickle cell anemia is often very common in countries where malaria is very prevalent due to because of natural selection, because people who don't get malaria are more likely to survive. Yes, theory of evolution. Yes. Anyways, Darwin, let's do these spots now. Hi, Panther. How you doing? Let's continue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, my legs are hurting now, holy shit. Now my legs are shaky. Why are you counting? Oh, Panther. I stream on multiple platforms, and on one of the platforms you can gain channel points by watching my streams, and you can redeem things with these channel points, and one of the channel point redeems is for me to do 20 Scots. Let me just drink some water. Also, I'll do that for $20. My Ko-fi link is on my profile. Do it if you want to. Anyways, let's continue. The helicopter touched down at a Hungarian airbase on the outskirts of Budapest. The aircraft's call sign meant it did not appear on civilian radar, and only a handful of military air traffic controllers in the world would have recognized the unique combination of letters and numbers that signified a Department 19 vehicle. Working quietly and inconspicuously through the bars and restaurants of Budapest, the team picked up Alexandri's trail. They followed an elderly vampire to a small apartment below the castle, and he told them about a bar called the Ramparts that had been much busier than usual in recent weeks. Busy with the kind of creatures the old man stiffly informed them he had no wish to socialize with. When Turner pressed him, he confessed he felt no kinship with young vampires, found their lust for violence abhorrent, and avoided them whenever possible. Carpenter thanked him, and they moved on. From the Ramparts, they trailed a vampire bartender to a warehouse rave in Budapest's run-down industrial district. They dragged him out to the car park at the rear of the building, the bartender's eyes wide and rolling, his eyes grinding as bliss pumped through his system, and he told them that a huge man with a child's face had dropped a card as he left. The Ramparts 4 nights ago. Also, thank you for the roses, Panther. I appreciate it. The card was for a vampire club near Matthias Church, a place the bartender had only ever heard whispers about. When he claimed to not remember the address, Turner applied a UV torch to the vampire's hand. It burst into flame, judging his memory. Outside, a beautiful Gothic townhouse in Balticus, in Balticus, in Balticus, the 5 men sat in a jet-black car, watching. Alec Anderson, the huge child-faced vampire who was served at Alexandria's right-hand man, had entered the building 2 hours earlier, apparently unaware that anyone was watching. Was if you really get some rest, Jay? You take care of yourself, alright? We are reading Department 19 by Will Hill, and I hope you enjoy. The small gold plate by the door of the townhouse had been engraved with the words Tabula Rasa, which Carpenter thought appropriate for a club frequented by vampires. Also, Panther, I'd very much appreciate it if you were kind to everyone here. We don't want that, disrespectful. We don't want the disrespect, you know? I have no issue with people relaxing here. This is a place for people to relax and unwind, you know? Okay, let's continue. A blank slate is exactly what it gives them, he thought. The freedom to leave behind the people they were before they turned and start again. Thank you for the roses. You know, but Big says I know a bunch of Latin quotes. I only know one, but what was it? It was in the Dead Poets Society. Let me search it up. It was A Love of Life or something. Dead Poets Society quote. It was seize the day. Carpe diem. Carpe diem. Carpe diem, you know? That's the one thing I remember. Seize the day. Live day by day. Live in the moment, yes. Let's continue. Colonel, said Paul Turner, in a low voice. Carpenter looked round and saw Anderson emerging from the carved stone doorway. The tall-hinged vampire cast a quick look up and down the quiet street, then stepped casually into the air and disappeared. Carpenter turned to Private Miller, who was seated in the back of the vehicle, cradling a sleek black laptop that was connected to a spy satellite that was in geosynchronous orbit above them. Do you have the heat trail? He asked. Yes, sir, responded the young operator. He's headed north by northwest, sir. 6 minutes after dawn the following morning, Julian ordered their car brought to a halt in front of the Molnar estate. 2 ornate metal gates stood open, the first rays of sunlight glimmering on the wrought iron. Alia Iacata est, the dice have been through. I like that. Send him more quotes, Fig. The 5 men had strapped and clipped their body armor into place during the drive, and there was a heavy sense of anticipation inside the vehicle. Carpenter looked at his team and decided against saying anything more to them. If they weren't ready, then nothing he could say at this late state would correct that. And if they were, he didn't want to give them anything extra to think about. That would soon have more than enough to deal with. Of that, he was quite sure. The estate's main building, an enormous 17th century country house, squatted on top of a long, shallow rise, its upper floors visible from the gate. The road that led from the open entrance wound left and right, through dense lines of neatly clipped trees, then led straight up the hill towards a wide gravel drive in front of the house. The trees fell away on both sides, and 5 blacklight operators were confronted with 100 yards of immaculate, featureless lawn, a vast open space that would have filled Carpenter with dread were it not for the pale yellow sunlight reflecting off the morning dew. Have a lovely walk, Panther. You take care, and thank you again. I appreciate you tuning in. And Kobe, you're free to leave if you like. You can do something else while listening. You can just have the book on, some background information as a background audio whilst you do some chores, clean the house, walk the dog, do whatever you want to do. And if it's bad, you can always block my profile, and then I won't come up again. And drink some water, and then I'll continue. Well, so yeah, feel free to get some rest, Lucifer. Only thing is, I will probably be ending soon, and you might get sent to another stream that'll wake you up. They crossed the lawns quickly, moving in a tight X-shaped formation. Carpenter in the middle, Turner and Frankenstein leading the way. The 2 privates bringing up the rear, their boots crunched across the gravel as they approached the home of the Molnar family. And then Turner pushed open the towering front door, and the 5 men slipped silently into the house. The smell was the first thing that hit them as they stepped onto the tiled marble floor of the atrium. A stench of rot so thick it felt as though you could have bitten into it. A dark haze of flies looped lazily in an open doorway at the rear of the atrium, and Carpenter led them towards it. Beyond the door was a large, spotlessly modern kitchen, big enough to have serviced a medium-sized restaurant. The smell intensified as they entered, waving the swarming flies away with their gloved hands. On a counter above one of the ovens, in a steel baking tray, was the leg of a roast lamb. It was a virulent purple color, and had swollen to almost double its size as the rot set in. The meat was leaking a milky fluid that was collecting in a thick pool in the tray, and maggots were swarming in wide crevices that had split open in the decaying flesh. Flies buzzed in a dense cloud above it, landing and taking off in a swirling pattern of shiny black bodies and translucent wings. Beside the tray stood bowls of black, liquidizing potatoes and vegetables, and a tray of crystal champagne flutes, their contents now long since flat. So hi, me too. Hi, Joe. How are you doing today? You guys doing well? Joe says, accidentally, what the flip-flop, dude?
What the freak, dude? What the flip-flop?
Fake says, I got my squares, but I think I can find my notes. 2 prayers in Latin. Oh, that's cool. And I'm glad you're relaxed, Kirby. And thank you, Farah. You're very sweet. I'm doing well, Michi, but my throat is hurting a lot, so I might have to end the stream soon. Joho, are you okay? Do you need a hug, Joho? Oh, you make me laugh, you do. Private Miller gagged as quietly as he could. How long? Asked Turner, his voice as calm as ever. This time of the year, replied Carpenter. A week at least. The 5 men stood in silence, regarding the spoiled food, the likely implications for those who had been intending to eat it did not need vocalizing. Let's keep moving, said Carpenter. The team moved back into the lobby, a beautiful cavernous space with blonde wood walls and gleaming black and white marble tiles. Above them, a domed window lit in the morning sun, lending the place a sense of peace and calm that couldn't have been further from what the men were feeling. In the dining room, they found the bodies. It was more than a hall. It was more a hall than a room, a long oak-paneled hall, lined on one side by windows that overlooked the pale green grass of the lawns. There's this. I was listening to them while I made bracelets, and I was so relaxed. You make bracelets? I'd love to see some of them. You should definitely send them on the Discord server. If you click my profile and then go on the link there should be a Discord icon, and then you can join from there. I love bracelets. And this book is Department 19 by Wilhelm. Also, thank you, Panther. I appreciate it. Fig says, like, the Discord server. I refreshed the browser and it froze. The one to my Discord server. You in it? Oh my gosh, peek. You love it? Let's continue. I'll definitely do some. Oh, I look forward to seeing that, darling. Where was I? Was it what a freaking lish? Oh, the one that goes. How does it go? I don't remember. I know exactly what you mean though. And Valnor, I think that might be a sign of something. Is that like a notification? It's me going meep and beep when I switch between reading and talking to chat. Just so you guys know, yeah. I don't get confused. Lydia, I mean, if you want to, I have like a soundboard. That's so cool. What do you mean, Val? Don't understand, sorry. Meet and greet? Yes, I'm saying hello to all of you. No DC find? What do you mean? You have to go on the card link. If you go on my profile, there should be a link to a card link. And then on the card link, that has all my links, and that has the link to the Discord. Let's continue. Where was I? A dark wood dining table sat in the middle of the room. Mouldy bowls of bread sat on the delicate serving plates in the middle of the service, and gleaming water glasses on ornate silver cutlery stood expectantly in front of empty chairs. A cavernous fireplace sat in the middle of the far wall, and arranged around it were a number of comfortable-looking armchairs. No doubt, the setting for thousands of after-dinner brandies over the years, and it was around these chairs that the Molnar family and their servants had been arranged. There were 6 bodies in all. A man in his late 50s or early 60s sat in one of the armchairs, his head thrown back and his throat torn out. On his knees had been placed a girl, no more than 7 years old, whose slender pale neck bore 2 circular puncture marks. No other torment had been visited upon her, as far as Carpenter could see, and he felt a rush of relief. at the quick death she had received, a privilege that had not been afforded through to the rest of the household. Fig, are you doom scrolling? Are you listening to my stream while doom scrolling on TikTok? Also, I'm very sorry, everyone, but I think that is where I will have to end for today. We made a lot of progress, and I had a lovely time with you all, but I am very tired. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, night, any time it is for you today. You all take care, alright? Stay safe, don't panic, and may you live in interesting times.